Mitchell Community Ranch, a story of resistance, community, and redemption. I never thought that locking my own ranch gate would somehow be considered crime. But the night I came home and found a massive concrete slab blocking my entrance complete with a smug little sign reading HOA violation 347, I knew a war had just begun. For most, this would be the end. For me, it was only the beginning. 6 months earlier, I had unpacked the final box inside the old farmhouse that had been in my family for over 3 decades. After my parents passed, I left behind a high-stress corporate attorney career in downtown Chicago and returned to the valley I once called home. The land stretched out like a living memory, 20 acres of rolling hills, a small creek on the western edge, and the silence that city living never allowed. My first few weeks were everything I needed: fixing fences, clearing overgrown trails, breathing clean air, letting the past fall away. Until that envelope showed up. It looked official. Inside, a demand from something called the Oak Ridge Valley Homeowners Association for $750 in annual fees, plus a long list of supposed violations. Fence too rustic, grass too long, farm equipment visible from the road. Violations? I wasn't even part of a subdivision. 3 days later, a black Mercedes crunched up my gravel driveway. Out stepped a woman who looked like she'd stepped off a real estate boardroom poster. Silver hair twisted into a bun, navy suit sharp enough to cut glass, heels completely out of place on a ranch. She extended her hand like she didn't want to touch anything. "Mr. Callahan," she said smoothly. "I'm Victoria Blackwell, president of the Oak Ridge Valley HOA. Welcome to the community." The way she said it made my skin crawl. Victoria explained how she'd modernized the HOA in recent years, expanding the boundaries to include fringe properties like mine under the umbrella of shared community vision. I calmly told her my family's land had never and would never be part of her HOA. Her smile tightened. "Mr. Callahan, no one is exempt. This is about cohesion, property values, order." "Miss Blackwell," I said evenly, "this land has been independent since long before you moved in. I have legal documentation to prove it." Her eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that." From that moment, I knew this wasn't about order. It was about control. That night, as her Mercedes disappeared down the driveway, I spotted a black SUV idling further down the road. A man sat inside, watching. When our eyes met, he sped off. This wasn't over. Inside the house, I pored over my parents' old land records and found it clear as day. A covenant written into the deed specifically exempting our land from any HOA jurisdiction without explicit consent. They never had it. But Victoria wasn't after dues. She was after something else. A few days later, she slid into the passenger seat of a luxury SUV where Warren Sullivan waited, a bloated man in an overpriced suit who reeked of real estate corruption. "He won't join," she hissed. "He's stubborn." Warren smirked. "That ranch sits on the only parcel with creek access we need for the Blackwell Resort project. We'll make him leave." The harassment began immediately. Daily violation notices in neon colors. Fines that escalated absurdly $50 became $500 per day. Every mailbox tap, barn creek, or misplaced tractor was suddenly a criminal act. But I wasn't new to intimidation. I'd faced oil companies, corporate giants, and billion-dollar lawsuits. An HOA with delusions of grandeur wasn't going to break me. I documented everything. Time-stamped photos, video footage. I built a case the same way I used to in court: quiet, methodical, unshakable. Still, I worried about the neighbors. The elderly widow down the road. The family trying to make ends meet. Not everyone had my legal background or patience for a fight. So I went into town. Ramirez's General was a dusty little store with more charm and shelves. That's where I met Elena. Practical ponytail, warm smile, eyes that had seen too much. She served me coffee in a chipped mug and told me the truth. "They've already forced 3 families to sell this year," she said. "All bought by shell companies tied to Warren Sullivan." We both knew what was happening. This was land theft disguised as neighborhood beautification. I called Dominic Foster, my old law partner and one of the best property attorneys I'd ever known. He laughed when I told him. They're trying to retroactively annex you into an HOA? Mason, that's so illegal it's hilarious. Let's burn it down. Legally, of course. The next day, Victoria returned. This time, with Hank Morganhead of Community Security. Hank looked like he bench-pressed subpoenas for fun. They tried again. Hank barked HOA codes at me. Victoria smiled, that shark smile. I calmly recited the clause in the deed that proved they had no authority here. When Hank stepped on my land to take pictures, I filmed him back. That's trespassing, I said. You're being recorded. They left. Furious. I knew they'd be back. I installed motion sensors, high-definition cameras, cloud backups, the works. And when I spotted Hank surveilling my property at night, I called Dominic. Let's catch them red-handed. But then came the boldest move yet. Returning from town one afternoon, I found a concrete slab blocking my gate. On top, a smug little sign, Violation 347. I didn't explode. I smiled. They had overplayed. Instead of cutting through the barrier, I moved into Elena's guest house and filed an emergency injunction. At the same time, Dominic and I launched a broader investigation. Elena helped organize other residents who had been harassed, while Zomi college-age daughter and brilliant tech-savvy researcher began tracing financial records. What she found blew everything wide open. County zoning maps, hidden emails, payments to local officials. A secret resort development, the Blackwell Spa and Retreat, slated to be built right on top of properties owned by unwilling residents. Then came the wiretap. A board member we'd flipped agreed to wear a mic to an HOA meeting. What we recorded was shocking. They'll find explosives, Warren said casually, sipping bourbon. An anonymous tip. Mitchell gets arrested. Property seized. Clean and simple. Victoria hesitative. Isn't that crossing a line? You want your resort or not? That night, while Warren's goons crept onto my land with bags of planted evidence, I sat with Sheriff Daniels showing him the live feed. They're on my land right now. Want to see them frame me. To his credit, the sheriff acted fast. Deputies surrounded the property, arrested Hank and the others on the spot. Every second caught on tape. Warren tried to flee to a private airfield. He didn't make it. Victoria tried to shred the evidence in her home. But when she opened the door and saw me standing with Sheriff Daniels, an investigative reporter, and half the town behind me, she knew it was over. You don't remember me, I said quietly, but 20 years ago, your Chicago resort scam ruined dozens of families. My parents were among them. The color drained from her face. This time, there would be justice. The charges, conspiracy, harassment, fraud, attempted framing, unlawful expansion of authority, bribery. The fallout? Explosive. Judge Simmons was removed. The HOA was disbanded. Warren and Victoria were sentenced. Their empire of intimidation turned to dust. In its place, something new bloomed. A real community. Transparent, fair kind. Elena was elected president of a new association. Zoe started working on legal advocacy for HOA abuse victims nationwide. We turned the old concrete block into public art. A plaque read, "When injustice blocks your gate, build a new road." And the gate? It was renamed Mitchell Community Ranch, where everyone has a voice. Because this land wasn't just defended. It was reclaimed. And in doing so, we sparked a movement. A quiet rebellion in the heart of suburbia. One man's stand against corruption. One community's awakening. And it all began with a gate.